All right. Next up, Jerome also writes, do you think because of what happened with Snow White that Disney is going to stop changing the race of certain characters to avoid controversy? No. I listen, except for where it's important to the DNA of who and what that character is and represents. And not many characters are like that. Very few characters are like that. Where it doesn't change anything fundamental about the character if their skin is this color or that color, then they should always just go out and make the movie they want and cast the best person for the role and not care about what the race of the character is. And they won't. The biggest problem with Snow White is that it's not a very good movie. The biggest problem with Snow White is that it just wasn't a very good movie. There are always going to be people that will bring their political agendas into it and want one thing or another. They want to make sure certain people are excluded. They always want to make sure that there's only this. We want everybody else excluded. There's always going to be some of that. But no, I don't think it's going to stop them. And it shouldn't stop them. Listen, Remote, the movie, okay? Remote, the movie, came out in 1945, whatever. If we acknowledge, well, yeah, I mean, the studio had clear guidelines. Like, only put white male guys in the leads of the movies at that time. You can't have one of the leads be Asian. You can't have one of the leads be black. You can't have that. If we acknowledge that that agenda of exclusion was there when they first made the movie, are filmmakers today and studios today obligated to honor that agenda of exclusion? Or should filmmakers and studios today be free to say, hey, listen, we don't live under that anymore. We can cast whoever we want in the roles. Because I'll tell you what, I have a real problem myself with this idea that, well, they were racist when they made the movie in 1950. We should continue that racist tradition. I don't agree with that. If this movie that was made in 1961 specifically got a white male lead because there was a rule in the studio that said you couldn't put a black person in the lead, and that's why it had a white lead, do we still have to respect that? I reject the intellectually bankrupt idea that, well, it got made with a white lead back then when they had no choice but to make it with a white lead. Well, you need to honor that still today and still make that character a white lead. That's intellectually bankrupt. That's a ridiculous notion. Again, it's not saying you have to change it, but the idea that you shouldn't change it, or you can't, that's the better word, you can't change it, is utter, complete moronic. It's stupid. That's bullshit. Just because a casting decision was made back then when they had a rule that you weren't allowed to put anybody else in it, that you have to still follow that today? That's idiotic. Idiotic. Now. I still believe today that there are some characters that what their ethnicity is, what their gender is, what their cultural background is, are like completely integrated into who and what the character is. James Bond is male. Black Panther is black. Batman is a white kid who grew up in white privilege.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser! What a freak!
I believe that there are a small number, but a certain number of characters where their ethnicity, their gender, their cultural backgrounds are completely integrated into the character. And Batman is a white kid who grew up in white privilege. Black Panther is black. And it becomes vital to who and what they are. There are some characters like that you should probably keep the way they are. I just don't believe that just because a movie was made in the 1950s when certain racial profiling was being done, that you therefore today are obligated to keep that.